Yo, no maniacs. Welcome into another edition of Feed the Bears, where I feed you guys, the Bears, all the good content that we can give you. And if you're liking this new content, you want to see me keep pumping it out, making these videos, doing more podcasts, hit the subscribe. That's all you can do to say, you appreciate the content. That'd be great for us. Just hit the subscribe button. We'd be happy keep pumping it out for you guys. But let me get right to the point. I come here and I'm gonna say this ahead of time. Now this is just my opinion. And one of the good things about this community over here at the Nomad Network, we have a great community of people. We communicate with each other. We go back and forth on shows. We argue about what we think this is and what we think that is. And it's a great conversation every time we have a podcast. And I love the feedback that everybody gives us. But one of the things we stress the most over here on this channel is being respectful about somebody's comment about what they think the Bears should do about this or that. Nobody's a stupid person for their comments. That's just one of the things that I pride myself as the leader of this network of being respectful of other people's opinions. I mean that. And so here's my opinion, and I'm just asking for the same courtesy. Now, what I'm about to say, it's going to make a lot of sense to a lot of people, but to other people that feel like, oh, okay, this is a move we need to make, they're going to feel a certain way about it, and that's okay. I'm good with that. But let me get right to the point. And so, the average, outside of, the talk about what we should do with the 10th pick in the draft and who we should draft and that kind of thing. This is probably the biggest subject being talked about amongst the Bears fans. What should we sign Trey Smith for 20 or 20 plus $million? And, and I'm seeing every other, show or every other video, every other piece of Bears content kind of is talking about this. So I might as well address it and put it out there. I've spoken to it a few times during podcasts, but let me just make a separate video for it just so you can have me on record as to this is how I feel about the situation. Number one is, we're talking about your average guard out there, and there's some pretty good guards in this free agent market. Some pretty good guards out there. And their average price is about half of what this guy's apparent value is. We're talking about $20 to $22 million for one football player, one offensive guard. And I'll tell you why it doesn't make sense to me. It's because I don't think we're one offensive guard away from being that competitive to where it makes sense to pay this guy that much money. I just don't think we are. And I also don't think that Trey Smith is $10 million better than a lot of these guards out here. I'm not giving him no hate or nothing like that. I'm just telling you that he's a really good guard and he's pretty nasty, and I love that demeanor about him. But I just don't believe that he's $10 million better than some of these other guys out there. And we're gonna take a look at a couple of them in just 1 second. I don't believe that. And so, how about this? Let me get right on into it. Let's look at some of these guys. Their value right now, let me put it up. Give me a second. And all right, so you can get right at the top. You're looking at Zach Martin right here, and he's 34 years old, and his market value is $9.1 million. So that's less than half of what you'd probably be paying Trey Smith. Really good guard. Let's get to another one. Let's see. Brandon Sheriff, 33 years old. Older guys. Not to say that older guys are worthless. If you wouldn't, your market value wouldn't be that high if you're worthless. These are good football players. Let's look at his market value. $6.7 million. Okay. Let's get to the next guy. James Daniels, coming off an injury, only 27 years old. I'm pretty sure he's going to come back as good or better than he was when he got hurt. Let's look at his market value. $7.8 million. Not bad. I think minus the injury, you might find yourself with an opportunity to, maybe snatch about $1.5 million off of that, maybe even $2 million, just because, people might be curious about how well he's going to come back from that injury. And so you got an opportunity there. It's not a cut and dry. This is what he's going to get, $7.8 million, and we don't need to, go back and forth in a bidding war about it. No, I think they sit in the opportunity to maybe do something different there. But let's get to the next guy. One more guy, two more guys I want to talk about. Let's look at Patrick McCarry. Really good guard. Really good guard. Tackle too. He's got flexibility. Let's look at his market value. 10.3. That's rich. That's rich, but I think he's that good of a guard tackle. I think the fact that he's position versatile would garner this kind of money. So I think that's fair for what you're getting in return with the player. $10.3 million. I don't think that's bad whatsoever. Guard, tackle, you can't beat that. And let's look at one more or two more guys. Let's look at Will Hernandez. I heard his name out there a little bit. Let's look at his market value. $4.3 million. And I think Will Hernandez is like 29 years old. Let me double check. Let's see. Will Hernandez. Yep, 29 years old. Let's look at one more guy. This is the guy that I really would encourage. If I had anything to say in that building, I would encourage Ryan Poles to do a full court press on Mekhi Becton. And let's look at his value. Let me see here. Are we on the right guy? Mm-hmm. So his value, his value is at 10.2. That's pretty rich for a guy that just played 1 or 2 years at guard, but he's played damn good football and some damn good, really, really good. It's like I was thoroughly impressed watching this guy play football. How seamlessly he transitioned to guard from tackle. I think being around a whole bunch of other good football players doesn't hurt any whatsoever. But that is that's a great value. And this we're talking about versus paying a guy $20 million. Let me take the screen down. I just had to let you guys get your eyes on some of the other guys that are out there and how much their value is. Let me take the screen down just to get to the point that I need to make real quick. And that is, I understand how, the fan base thinks. You got a chance to get a really, really good, nasty, snotty offensive guard. And that's great. But here's the deal. We brought in 2 guys, meaning the GM and the assistant GM, and they were supposedly really good at being able to locate this talent on the offensive line. And to me, if you go and spend $20 million on a guard after you just hired an offensive line guru, grizzled veteran guru, the show I just did earlier with all those guys that hit the Pro Bowl, we're talking about Terran Armstead, we're talking about Max Unger, we're talking about who else? Some of the other guys on that list. Every last one of those guys were drafted and developed. Get what I'm saying? Let me say that one more time. Every one of those Pro Bowlers were drafted and developed. They weren't traded for. They weren't found on the free agent market. They were drafted and developed. See my point? If you're as good as you say you are, if Ryan Poles is as good as we think he is, if Ian Cunningham is the same guy, they know how to identify this talent. God knows there's enough of it in this draft to replenish your offensive line. We might only have one starting offensive lineman coming back this year, but Lord knows I can understand if they go out there and get a couple of, starters. Yes, you would, because you're going to be basically handing the reins to Darnell Wright and then 4 more rookies if you don't. And so you're going to have some veterans in the room, and a couple of them are probably going to start, likely to start, at least 1 or 2 of them. But, that's just where we are. And I just don't, to me, it's an indictment against Ryan Poles if that's what you end up spending that money on. There's too many holes on this roster, in my opinion, to go spend $20 million on an offensive guard. That's a move a Super Bowl caliber team makes. I don't think we're there yet. I got a lot of questions about, what we might be next year. That's, that proof isn't in the pudding yet. They got to come in this building and start playing some football in order for me to give you an educated guess on what I think that is. Because as for what I seen last year, we're nowhere near in a position to be paying a guard $20 million. That's just my opinion. It might sound strong and I might come off that way, but it's just my opinion. You guys can tell me what you think about the situation. I won't be mad at how you feel about it, but that's how I feel about it. I don't think we're there. I think if the GM he and Ian Cunningham are as good as we want to believe they are, and this offensive line guru that you just brought in the building is as good as his track record seems to be, then you draft and develop. You just draft them and develop them. That's it. And we've been looking for that for quite some time. We just haven't had the right atmosphere and environment to make that happen. But right now is the time. You can draft some guys and start really, really working them up to speed. And then maybe in a couple, 2 or 3 years, they're sitting in the Pro Bowl. But spending all your money in free agency on one, I'm not saying they're spending all that money, but $20 million is a nice chunk of money to be spending on one guy that's not an impact player. You know, and offensive linemen, you know, I know people will say, you know, offensive linemen make a difference too. Yes. But an impact player means guys that really change the game around, you know, edge rushers, different guys like that. But that's my take on it, man. I'm not going to hold you guys too much longer, man. I'm going to get on up out of here and leave you with this, man. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button on the way out. If you enjoy this content, you want to keep this content coming, hit the subscribe button for us, man. We'd appreciate it. But I'll leave you with these famous words. If you can think it and you can see it, there's no reason in the world why you cannot absolutely manifest it. Do not, and I repeat, do not be a prisoner of your own mind. But with that being said, I am